So good afternoon once again, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Okay, now for this subject, now since it is a programming subject, actually I don't like to share the PPTs because theory subject के लिए PPTs are like helpful. There that to give you just the topic headings and just to tell you about what all you have in that particular chapter. For that programming subjects, my what you I like to teach with the programs so that जो भी डाउट है तुम लोग को उधर के उधर क्लियर हो जाए. आई होप इफ आई टॉक इन बिटवीन इन हिंदी यू विल नॉट हैव अ प्रॉब्लम. यस स्टूडेंट्स.
No, ma'am.
और
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
No, ma'am.
or if is there anyone who don't understand the Hindi, you please let me know, then I will stop using it. This is just to make it more easier, that's why, otherwise no issues. See, normally I don't refer to, I said I don't refer to teach this particular programming language with the PPTs because PPTs may normally you have all that theoretical concepts. But first chapter जो है हमारा, in the first chapter since we have the basic concepts, that concepts I can show you the PPT for that. After that, through the programs only I'll teach you whatever the concepts you have. Okay. So I was giving you the example of that medical shop. Okay. And I have told you like whatever the real time examples you have, the language which we are going to learn now, that language will help us out to make use of the concepts of that particular language in this real life examples. Any example you take, hospitals may also, if you'll go, now hospitals may there are so many rooms are there. In every room there are different kinds of rooms are there. In every room there will be some kind of patients you have. There will be different wards are there for different sections are there for different kind of different kind of the problems that patient face. Different doctors are there. There are so many visiting doctors comes to that particular hospital. So I can create the program for this hospital management also, for the medical shop management also, or as I gave you the examples, like normally for you this one, when you went to the grocery shop, for the grocery shop also अगर मैंने सोचा, if I am thinking of writing a program for a grocery shop, तो उसके लिए भी मुझे प्रोग्राम आई शुड बी एबल टू राइट. सो हाउ विल आई बी एबल टू राइट द प्रोग्राम फॉर सच थिंग्स. सो अगर मुझे वो प्रोग्राम्स लिखना है तो first of all I should learn the theoretical part behind it. First of all I should know in detail about that particular, how exactly that grocery shop works, how exactly that medical shop works. I should know these things. Then only I can then only I can put that particular things into a program. See, C plus C language, maybe when you're writing a program, first of all it is being told to you to do the addition of two numbers. So this is the theory which is, or the sentence which is given to you. What you're doing, this sentence you're converting it into a practical thing by writing it into a programming language. And when you're writing it in a programming language, you're saying that you're converting it into a machine code so that your machine will understand that language. Okay. So actually what happens, your language, you're converting it into a machine language. Yes or no? And when, what your compiler will do, the compiler will understand this machine language and will interpret for that particular language and will give you the answer in your native language. Yes or no, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, sorry. Nowadays, you might have heard about data science. You might have heard about data analyst. Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
They are booming nowadays.
Yes, ma'am.
And they are booming because our data is so important that we should be able to take care of that particular data, or we should be able to make use of that particular data appropriately. And whenever necessary, wherever and wherever necessary, we should be able to make use of that particular data more proficiently. And if we wanted to do that, first thing is that you should be able to know, you should be knowing any particular programming language thoroughly. You should be knowing that language in and out in such a way that whatever the kind of data given to you, you should be able to put it into a particular language, right? So that's why after learning the basics of C, the next subject that you have in this semester is about the object oriented language. This object oriented language we are learning with C++. But object oriented language can be learned with Java also, because Java is also developed using this object oriented concept. So the study this language in such a way that this particular subject will help you out for your Java also, because Java, the way Java is being developed, Java is completely developed with this object-oriented concept. So whatever the object-oriented concept you will learn in this semester, you will be learning it next year when you have this Java subject also. Is the PPT visible to you, students?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it disappeared.
Not visible, ma'am.
See, so now we should know what is the need of this particular object-oriented language and how we will be using this particular language. Yes?
Can you share your screen once again? It's not visible.
It's not visible?
It's not visible.
No, ma'am. It
Not
got
visible.
disappeared
No,
again.
now it's visible.
Okay, wait.
Now it's visible.
Now I have unshared it. Wait.
How is it not visible?
Wait.
Yeah, ma'am. Now it's visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, visible.
First is your this. So we are starting with object-oriented programming, basic concepts or the introduction to object-oriented programming, which is your chapter 1 in unit 1. So now, as you all are aware, that data abstraction has become essential, very essential, as there are so many programs you have and the programs are becoming much more complicated. So we should be able to see languages. There are plenty of languages available to you, as you have told me in the previous lecture what are the languages are available. You can write your program in any language, but the basic thing is what exactly you are retrieving from that particular language or from that particular program should also be known, or you should be able to understand what kind of a data you are retrieving. That is also an important part. So for that, what we need to do, we need to make use of this particular object oriented language, which will reduce the conceptual load. That is, we wanted to have the minimum details. We don't wanted to have in detail information about everyone, but a basic detail I need, with which I at least I can pretend, or I can realize what kind of data it is and what answer it is giving. Then the other benefits you have with this object oriented language is about fault containment and the independent program components. Okay, now fault containment means what? There should not be any kind of misinterpretation about your language. Like you have written a program for, doing the addition, but your program is just doing the concatenation. It is not able to perform the addition of two numbers. That kind of a thing should not happen. Or you should be able to create the different objects or the different modules with which you will be able to execute the different parts of your program. Like as we have discussed, when we are using plus operator, we should be able to do the addition of any kind of a numbers between 0 to 9. When we are doing multiplication, we should be able to do the multiplication of any numbers between 0 to 9. So we should be having a independent programming components for that particular, or independent functions for that. Then another functionality that you have with object oriented is about it can reduce the code. And how it can reduce the code, or what kind of a mechanism it is using, that we will see later. Now, a methodology that is used in your programming. What kind of methodology you have? So there are basically 4 or 5 major principles you have. That is data abstraction, encapsulation, information hiding, polymorphism, and inheritance. These are the basic concepts, or the most important concepts of your object oriented language, which you are going to learn throughout this subject. What is data abstraction, what is encapsulation, what is information hiding, what is polymorphism, what is inheritance, and how you will implement each one of this concept into your program. Means when you are writing a C++ program, your C++ program should have data abstraction, it should have encapsulation, it should have information hiding, it should have polymorphism also if necessary, and inheritance also if necessary and required. So if all these concepts are implemented in your program, then it will be called as your object oriented program. So you'll be learning each one of this topic in detail in each one of the chapter, each one of the unit. You have a separate unit for each one of this. Now, what are the design objectives you have in C++? The first design objective was about the compatibility. Because what happens, whatever the existing code you have, which you are writing it in C, you can make use of that particular code. Or whatever the existing libraries you have, or the pre-compiled language libraries you have, that also you can link with your C++ code. Means whatever the libraries that you have learned in your C++, or whatever the header files you use in, so whatever the header files you used in your C language, C libraries or the header files. So you said in C language you are using stdio.h. Yes or no, student? You might have used mat.h. Yes, students? You might have used string.h.
Yes, ma'am.
So all these header files, you can use it in your C++ also. Means it is compatible to make use of that header files in your C++ also. Though we have one more header file for your input and output, that is iostream.h. That also we'll discuss why to use that iostream.h and what all functions you have defined in that iostream.h. Like your stdio.h, you have in C++, you will be using this iostream.h. Okay. Second objective for your C++ language was about the efficiency. Because it should be efficient. When you are developing a new language or when you are doing changes in your old language, that you will make sure that whatever the language that you are creating, it should be efficient, right? There should not be any additional cost for using that particular language. So how, whenever you are developing a new language, every time it will be checked whether your language is efficient or not. Then only the people will go for it. Like you said, you have like your C, C++, you have Java language, you have Ruby on Rails language, you have .NET language, what a C# language. All that languages the people will use only if it is efficient. So you have to make sure that the language which you are developing or the language which you have should be efficient. Then strict type checking. Like when you're debugging your program or when you are compiling your program, it should be able to check whatever the functions that you have already defined. If you have defined any inbuilt function and if you have used that inbuilt function, your code should be able to, your compiler should be able to check it properly. Whatever the variables you have declared, the variable declaration, function declaration, that should be proper. So that kind of a strict type checking is always there in any kind of a programming language. Now the most important part, who has developed this or who has designed this? C++. So C++ is actually designed by Brijane Strotzer in the Bell Labs. Like when they were doing research on C with Dennis Ritchie, they the team which was there to develop that C language, the same team was working on C++. And while doing some research on that particular C, they got an idea or they got a design for the C++, and in the Bell Labs only they have developed this C++ language. Now, what are the major improvements that are being done in C? As I said, in C you are using stdio.h, that is standard input output header file, right? But here we have a stream IO. Stream IO matlab kya hai? What is stream? IO stream when you are saying, that is input output stream. At a time, I will not be taking only one single character or one single data. I will be taking a stream of data. I can read a stream of data, and for that you have two functions that are called as cin and cout. That also we'll discuss when we are doing the first practical. That time we'll discuss. I'll show you practically how the cin and cout function works. Like how you have printf and scanf. Instead of that printf and scanf, which you are using in C++, we will be using cin and cout. Cin to take the input from the user and cout to display it on your screen or to print it on your screen. So cout works like your printf and cin works like your scanf. Is this clear to everyone? If at any particular time, if you feel I am going very fast, you please let me know. Or if any particular thing, if you are not able to understand, please let me know that also.
No, ma'am, all good.
Okay. Now, other improvements that you have with your C++ is we have a concept of parameter passing by reference, which you might have learned in your C variable. Passing by value and passing by reference. You might have learned in your C also. Yes, have you learned about that? To a variable, passing by value and passing by reference, you have done in C. So how we can pass the parameters by reference, that also we are going to learn in C++. Then how to assign default argument values, that also we will learn. And
Ma'am, you are not audible.
So you have, these are the improvement that you have over C in C++, default argument values, how you can assign the default values to your parameters, that also we'll learn. And inlining is one of the new function that is being added in C++. It was not there in C. Inlining, how you can make your functions inline, that we will discuss. Okay, now before starting with actual C++, as I said, first of all, we should learn why we use this IO streams. So actually streams are your type safe. The type of object being IO is known statically by the compiler rather than via dynamically tested percent fields. Like in uh, printf and scanf, you are writing percent, right? Percent d, percent f, depending upon what kind of a data type you are using. Like if it is an integer, you are using percent d. If it is a float, you are using percent f, right? So instead of writing all that, your compiler should understand what kind of a variable it is. You don't have to specifically define whether it is integer, float, or because already you have declared the variables above, right? So if it is able to read that, then your statements, whatever you are writing, that C in and C out statement should be able to take your variables without giving any percent fields. Okay, that is what it means. Then actually streams are less error prone. That's why we are using. Because what happens, it is very difficult to make robust code using your printf. Like if I have a very large statement to be printed, I have with the variables, then I have to write that many percent e, percent e, percent e, percent f, percent f, percent f, and goes on. So that becomes very difficult. But if I have streams like C in and C out, C in and C out, what they will do, they will identify if whatever the variable I have declared it above, it will identify what type of variable it is, and it is able to read it and print it. That's why your streams are more faster comparative to your printf. Because what your printf does, printf interprets the language of percent, specs, and chooses at runtime the proper low level routine. Whereas what your C++ does, C++ picks these routines statistically based on the actual type of the argument. What type of argument you have already defined. So it will check it automatically because it is going it will also start its program execution from main, but it will identify what exactly you have, what all variables you have declared, and it will store that variables as a kind of objects, so that it comes to know what kind of objects you are using inside your that C in and C out statement, and accordingly it will work. So that's why your streams are much more faster. So streams are extensible. Another advantage of streams is what? It is extensible. That is, the C++ IO mechanism is extensible to new user-defined data types also. Like I can define my own data type. See how many data types you are aware about? Can anybody will tell me? Which all data types you know?
int, float, character, string,
Hmm.
long int, double float.
Anything else?
That's it now.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Abhi, suppose now I wanted to create my own data type, which is not of integer type, which is not of float type, which is not of character type. Abhi, in float character also, how you distinguish? You know that when there is a whole number, like any number without any fraction, you will declare it as integer with a specific range also that you are aware about. If the number is within that range, you will declare it as integer. Any fractional number, you will declare it as float or you will declare it as double. Yes. And any character, you will declare it as character. Any character, when you wanted to read or the string of characters, you will declare it. You will declare the variable as character. Okay. But suppose now I wanted to create my own data type. Abhi, suppose I wanted to store the colors. What are the colors that you have? Like you have so many colors: blue, green, yellow, orange, whatever the colors are available to you. I wanted to create a data type of that colors type. Is your color is of type integer? Is it of integer type color?
No.
Float?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Character?
Yes.
Character, is it of a character type? Agar
No, ma'am.
character type, if you will say yes, then in that character it will just read the character. Will it be able to understand blue color means it should apply the blue color? If I am saying the color is my data type, like जैसे तुम लोग integer बोल रहे हो वैसा मैं बोल रही हूँ color is my data type. And when I am writing color, and then if I am writing a variable as blue, that means it should be of a blue color. Will your compiler understand this?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, until and unless your streams are not aware about this particular data type, it will not be able to handle it. Okay, so if I wanted to create my own data type, that means what? मेरा खुद का data type मैं create कर रही हूँ. Who am I? I am a user. I am a user of a particular language, right? So then it is what called as user defined data type. When I am creating my own data type for my own purpose, it will be called as your user defined data type. Okay. So you need to define the data type first of all, and once you have defined the data type, then you will be able to use it. Like you might have learned about enums and structs in your C language. Struct data type have you learned in your C language?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you use that structures?
For storing the details of different data types.
Yes, for storing the details of a particular different data types. Okay, so that is another kind of a data type that you are creating. So struct can also become a data type which is defining different values or defining a particular structure. Similarly, you have enumeration. What is this enumeration? Enumeration also talks about the different values that you wanted to give it to a particular variable. So in C++, for that thing, you can create a user-defined data type, or you can create your own data type where you can define the different values, or you can define your own variable of a specific data type, and that will be called as your user-defined data type. Now streams are actually a subclasses and they belongs to this class, OStream and iStream. OStream for your output stream and iStream for your input stream. Actually your C++ is actually the replacement for your files. Like I should be able to read the files also in my program. So if I wanted to read a file, I need a particular stream of characters to read the content of that particular file. Yes or no? Like suppose if I am telling you write a C++ program to read a word file or to read a text file. Suppose एक notepad है, वो notepad में suppose मैंने first 10 students का name store करके रखा है. And I wanted to read that file in my C++ program. That means what? I should be able to open that particular file and I should be able to read the names of the 10 students one by one. Yes or no? For which I need to make use of this classes, that O stream and I stream classes that we will learn in file chapter. So a stream that writes to a memory area, that also we need, and we also need a stream that listens to an external port. Now, how your C is stronger than your C language? So first is the empty list of formal parameters that you have, that is no arguments, that you will use it in your C++. Like in C, it means 0 or more arguments with no type checking at all. Like for example, if you are writing character asterisk malloc and then this, it means what? No character. Means it is an empty string that you have or empty parameter that you have, right? But in C++, you can have no arguments also, or you can have plenty of arguments also, 0 or more arguments also. In C, it means 0 or more argument. In C++, you can treat this as no arguments. Now, another thing that you have in C is, in C, it is okay to use an undefined function. There is no type checking will be performed. But in C++, undefined functions are not allowed. Like if you are in main, if you have defined this function like this, f 3.11415, C++ it will give you an error. But in C it will be okay. It will be taken to main. It will be taken to mean int f. Means because by default this will be considered as integer function. But in C++, you need to give the return type or the data type of this particular function. That also you will understand when we'll write a program. What this statement is saying, whenever you are defining a function, that function should have a particular data type. अगर मैंने लिखा add, I am writing a function as add and then the round brackets. But before that add, I should write what is the data type of that add. Whether it is addition of integer numbers or whether it is addition of float numbers or whether it is addition of characters. Hope all of you are getting this. Clear till this part, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you show the first slide of C++ strong typing?
This one.
No, ma'am, the one before that. Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Now in C function, you always make sure that your function always returns a value. Yes or no, student?
Yes, ma'am.
Always, even your main function returns a value. That's why you write return 0, or otherwise what you write? What is the return type you write to your main function? If suppose you are not returning a value, what is the return type you write it for your main function?
0.
0. If suppose now I don't want it to return any value for this main function. So what is the return type you are writing in front of this void? Sorry, in front of this main. You write it as void main.
Yes, ma'am.
So void is what called as? Void is called as the return type of this function main. And void means what? It doesn't return anything. Yes or no? Void means what? No, not returning any value. So when I am writing void main, even if I will not write return 0, it's okay. But अगर मैंने सिर्फ main लिखा, तो your C program always needs a return 0 at the end of the program. Yes or no, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so see this example.
Yes,
now in this example, what is given? Double foo. Foo is a function. F-O-O foo function. Parameters. Then you're opening the function and I'm just writing a return statement over here. Now this you have done in your C also. Okay, that is means what I'm doing for this function. Double is my return type. That means what? when I will execute this function, my function should return a value of double type. The value which is of type double. My function, this function, when I'll execute it, it should return some value and that value should be of type double. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
But in C++, now what happens? From main, when you're calling that particular function, see here now what is written main. In the main function, inside the if block, I have called that foo function. I have called that foo function. So whatever the value is returning over here, that value should be given over here. Yes or no? यहाँ पे जो भी value return हो रहा है, that value should be given over here. Yes or no?
Yes.
So in C this will work, but in C++ this will give you an error because it should not return a value. Either it should print the value, there itself, or it should check that particular value over here. What is the return type you have? With respect to that, it should get that particular value. So when we are doing a program that I may show you how exactly this also happens. So in C++, every time it is not necessary that you should you should write a function that should be a value returning. Then this array concept, we will see it later. Before this array concept, now okay, or otherwise let's discuss this one and the next one. C++ is more careful about initializing an arrays. Like if you will declare character A of 2 is equal to, in double quotes you have written high. C++ will give you an error. Why error? Because there is not enough space for this /0. /0 means what? A empty character. Since you have declared an character array, so see now you have declared the size of that array as 2. That means only 2 characters I can store. Yes or no? But
Yes.
here how many characters you have? Here you have high. So there is no space to store this one empty character, that is /0. So, but in C++, in C language this is okay. But there also empty character is not stored. So always it is better to declare your array as like this. When you see C++, it is always it is better to declare the array like this. Character A of empty size is equal to high. Why? Because then dynamically by seeing how many characters you have, it will allocate the size of that. Okay. Otherwise, if specifically if you are given that size and if you don't have that much of the space, then the empty character cannot be stored, and that's why it will give you an error. So this is a small uh, uh, concept that you have with respect to your programming, and it is important one. Like whenever you will declare an array in your C++, always make sure that always you declare it with no size, so that automatically it will check what is the value, how many values you have, and it will create an array of that size. Or otherwise you should give the proper value, considering one empty string, empty character also has to be stored in that particular array. And the sixth one that you have is free store, that is heap management. In C++, we use new and delete instead of that malloc and calloc. Actually, here you have calloc or free. You might have used this malloc in your C language. Have you used malloc? Malloc or calloc?
Yes, ma'am.
Malloc is used for what?
Dynamic memory allocation.
Yes, malloc is used for dynamic memory allocation. And same way as you have memory allocation, you have memory de-allocation also, which is your calloc, or which is called as your freeing up the memory. So instead of using that malloc and calloc, here we have new and delete. Whenever you wanted to dynamically allocate the new memory, you will be using the keyword new. And whenever you wanted to remove that memory, you will be using the variable delete. So new and delete are type safe, and in C++ you will be using these two instead of malloc and calloc. Now before going to this concept, now one small thing you have, that is, first of all, before learning this object oriented language, you should always learn the uh, you should always know the procedural oriented language. So what is a procedural language? As I said, C language or what are the previous languages you had, all that languages are called as procedural language. Why they are called as procedural language? Because you have one particular procedure, like you will be writing your header files first, then you are creating your main function. Inside the main function you have your functions, and inside that functions you have a particular operation written for that particular function, right? And then you are writing a return 0 to end up, once you are finished with all the functions, you are writing a return 0 to end up that particular function, to end up your main function call. Or otherwise what you will do, you will write your functions outside the main, and from the main what you will do, you will just call that function. Yes or no? So that means what, it is a specific predefined procedure you have, which is defined for your the, this procedural languages, where what you can have, uh, you cannot have separate functions written separately. All the functions need to be written either inside the main, or they has to be called inside that main. Yes or no? So it is like in one pocket you have everything, but just how to remove it from that particular pocket, it's depending upon you. But you will be keeping, like when you have your wallets or when you have the pockets, there are separate compartments you have. In one one part you are keeping all your cards, in one part you are keeping all your coins, in one part you are keeping your notes, or the keeping all your notes or anything else, right? But it is there in one pocket only. If you wanted to make use of a coins, you will just remove the coins. If you wanted to make use of notes, you will just remove the notes. And sometimes you will just mix up with coins also and notes also. But that is inside, with respect to inside your pocket. If you don't have a pocket, you will not be able to take anything out. That's just an example. You might have kept your monies anywhere else. But when we are talking about a pocket, this is the concept that we have. And you have a specific structure that you will not keep the cards in place of the notes, or you will not keep the notes in place of the cards, or you will not keep the coins in place of the cards, or you will not keep the coins in place of the notes. So that is what is being followed in your procedural language. But when we are talking about object oriented language, we have a separate concept where we should be able to call the different functions from different routines. And how we are going to do that, that we'll study in the next lecture. So we'll stop here for today. Hope whatever I have told you today, all of you have understood.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
can you share that PPT with us?
I'll share once I'll finish with this particular topic.
Okay, ma'am.
Anything else? Anybody else? Anybody feeling or having any problem with my lecture or with today's lecture? As this was the first lecture, if you had any problem understanding the concept when I am talking or when I am teaching or with my language, if you have any problem, anybody's having any issues?
Ma'am, I had ma'am, can you, ma'am, I want to tell that can you, while doing C++, can you revise some of the things that are important in C that we should know before doing C++, like a type of revision type Cause
Okay.
ma'am, many of the
Yes.
people are not clear with the basics of the high-end part of C because we were in a hurry of during our first sem.
Okay, okay. Okay, that we will do it not during the theory lecture, but during the practicals I can do that. Practicals के
Okay,
time
ma'am.
पे I can tell you the basic concepts of how your C programs are written, and then I will start with C++ का programs. Okay. Initially, directly I will not start with the C++ का program. First we will do some of the concepts of C program, and then we will convert it to C++. But in theory
Thank
lectures,
you,
I will
ma'am.
not do that because then otherwise it will be too much, lectures will be too lengthy. And then we'll not be able to finish C++ ka portion also. Then again we have to hurry C++ at the end, and then again you will not understand.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll stop
Thank you,
here
ma'am.
for today. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you everyone. All of you can leave now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, ma'am.
ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
if we use VS Code, is it fine for C++ programs?
What?
If we use Visual Studios
It's
for C++
fine. It's well and good.
program,
It's
it's
well and
fine.
good. I
Okay, ma'am.
cannot see
Thank you.
actually. Even I show C++ programs with Visual Studio. Last means 2 years back I showed to that batch I have showed it with Visual Studio. But now at home now I am taking different subjects. I am not taking .NET, so that's why I don't have Visual Studio in my laptop. So that's why I have not specially downloaded it or installed it in my system. So I will be showing it with the online compiler only. But you people can make use of Turbo C++, or you can make use of whatever is feasible to you. You can make use of Visual Studios.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.